Welcome and thank you for tuning in to yet another knit vlog episode of the Little Bishes Stitches Knitting Podcast channel, where I share all of my knit escapades as well as my love of hand-dyed yarn. I'm Catherine, your host, avid knitter, and hand dyer behind Little Bishes Stitches hand-dyed yarn. I live in Germany with my husband and our 2 children and our dog Blue. Thank you to my subscribers who are tuning in again today for episode 6. If you're new to the channel and stopping by to see kind of like what this is all about, thanks so much for giving Little Bishes Stitches hand-dyed yarn a gander. And if you like what you see today and would like to subscribe, then please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the all button with the bell, so that if there's anything new happening on the channel, that you will be directly notified about any new videos that are being uploaded to the channel. So summer is in full force here. It is a beautiful sunny day. I'm super excited that we have this type of weather, because I would have to say the last couple years that we've lived here, it's been kind of like, I don't even know what time of year it is. It's raining, it's cold for 6 weeks long, although it's like spring at the end, May, March, that kind of thing. And where I come from in New York, we have basically all the years, like times a year, seasons. We have your summer, your fall, your winter, your spring. So I'm super excited that so far this year it's been, I would say, somewhat normal. But I digress. It has been a while since I have filmed last. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to do my best to be a little bit more consistent with uploading knit vlogs, and also a new feature that's on the channel are studio vlogs. But I'll get to the studio vlog later. For today, I have a whole plethora of finished objects. I have tried in the last 6 months to a year to be a monogamous knitter, to finish what I started, to bust my stash, to not buy so much yarn. Although I do enjoy using a lot of the yarn from the shop. I also have a work in progress. That is a blanket, as just a little sneak peek info. I'd also like to talk a little bit about what's going on in the shop. We have a 2022 yarn advent calendar that is open for pre-order until the 1st of July. And to show you guys a few of our speckled colorways that we have here in the shop. So the first finished object that I would like to show you guys is the Change Your Mind shawl from Counting Sheep. This is a wonderful pattern. It is so easy to read and to follow. It is basically a lot of garter stitch and yarn overs with eyelets. Nice spine going down the middle of the shawl. And I won't say it's potato chippy, because you really have to pay attention to your count in terms of like the increases, that you increase at the right time. That doesn't make it a bad pattern or anything. It is a super pleasure to knit, because I've knit this pattern 3 times. This will be my 3rd time. And my aunt is also guilty of knitting this pattern several times. If you're watching, you know that you've also knit this at least 3 or 4 times. But it just goes to show you what a wonderful pattern it is. And yeah, like I said, it's really easy to knit, a pleasure, and it's so much fun to see your progress as you knit it. As I mentioned, I had already knit this twice before I knit this shawl. And I noticed when I knit the first shawl that I was totally off on my gauge. I believe I used a 3.75 millimeter needle, as was suggested, but also, you know, as it always is, you're always supposed to do your own gauge, and I didn't do that. Nonetheless, I realized, at least with the second shawl, that I would definitely have to pay attention to gauge. And for this shawl, my goal was to make a really nice, fluffy, big shawl that I could really nicely wrap around my neck in the winter time, and it would keep me nice and warm, and it wouldn't choke me in my neck area. And then I realized, yeah, this time you're gonna have to use a bigger needle size. I believe I ended up using a 4.25, and I think even after I blocked it, it worked out quite well. So the story behind this shawl is we have in the shop a base called Rustic Sock. It is a 75%, 25% merino nylon, 400 meters. a la 100 gram. And although it's 75% merino, 25% nylon, it has a real rustic touch to it. It's not scratchy, uncomfortable, but it's not your, let's just say, typical 75-25 merino sock yarn. I would say it almost feels more so like a virgin wool, and in German they say Schurwolle. And I always wanted to knit with mohair. I've, truth be told, never knit with mohair before, or at least not before this shawl. And I thought to myself, what an awesome combination it would be to knit this shawl with the rustic yarn base from the shop and a skein of complete normal mohair. So I picked out a few colors from the shop, and I picked out our Make Me Blush colorway. That's the pink here. And then I moved on to our Lavender Feels colorway and continued through. And like I said, yeah, the entire time I combined Rustic Sock and also the mohair, and finished off with an I-cord bind off, which is one of my favorite bind off methods. And it just made a most squishy, warm, lovely, not scratchy at all shawl. And I absolutely love it. And yeah, I can't wait till the weather gets colder. For this shawl, I also have a kit in the shop. I can show you in a picture here. So that's already one finished object down. The second finished object that I have is the Change Your Mind Cowl, also by Counting Sheep. And I was so excited when Jenny said that she was going to make a pattern, or the Change Your Mind pattern as a cowl, because yeah, I love this pattern. And I thought, how would it be, or it would be so cute to have the design in cowl form. So I decided to cast on with the mini option that she has for this cowl. I don't know them all by heart, but I know that she has one option that's like 2 100 grams of yarn, and then mine is basically 525 grams of mini skeins. So I knit this, or cast it on with our evergreen one-of-a-kind colorway using a 2.75 needle. And this is also, or this is actually this isn't our evergreen colorway, I'm sorry. This is our one-of-a-kind spruce colorway that was included in a mini set that I had in the shop. I believe I might still have it in there. And is also in our rustic base. As you can see, it's kind of like fuzzy a bit. And then I moved on to our My Electricity colorway using our Soft Sock Bulky Fingering base. I have, once again, My Electricity here as well. I'll show you guys. This is our My Electricity Speckled colorway. And I really love how this colorway knits up. As you see here, it has, you know, your dark teals, they're almost black, but it's still kind of like a deep blue. There's pops of magenta and purple and chartreuse in there. So yeah, I really enjoyed knitting with that colorway. And then I moved on to our Absinthe colorway, which is a colorway that has been in the shop for quite some time now. Oh, here it is. This is our Absinthe colorway. And I really love knitting with this colorway too. I've also knit a pair of socks with it. But nevertheless, I thought that it would be really cool in this combination with this color scheme. So here's our Absinthe. And then it goes back to My Electricity, and then Absinthe, and then Heart of the Ocean, which is one of our variegated tonals, and you can see it a little bit better here. I don't have that with me today, but if you're interested in seeing what that colorway looks like as a skein, then pop on into the shop. And like I said, I will leave information in the drop down box for this cowl and the yarn that I used for it. And then I ended with our Scarecrow colorway, and I also have that with me today. The Scarecrow colorway was a colorway that came to the shop when I still had an Etsy shop. Little Bishes Stitches has been around since 2019, and I thought I would get my feet wet with an Etsy shop. And when it was Halloween, this was one of the colorways that I dyed up. So Scarecrow is like, yeah, it has like a base color of kind of like a gloomy Frankenstein ghoul color, and then you have the rain of sprinkles in teal and almost like a burnt orange. And I named this color Scarecrow because it reminded me of Halloween, which is one of my favorite holidays. And yeah, I just saw like in a field at the end of October, all the cornfields were like gray and brown and dying, and then you just see this like Scarecrow in the middle, and his you know, plaid shirt is tattered, and these are the colors that are included in that tatted plaid shirt. And yeah, so this is Scarecrow. Oh yeah, and then to talk a little bit about the base, this is our Soft Sock bulky fingering base, and I know the word bulky might be a little bit confusing, but I think, yeah, I think this base, for me, in terms of a sock yarn, is a little bit more voluminous than your normal sock yarn. If you see here, it's kind of like not so thin, it's a little bit plump and fluffy, and so that's why I called it the Soft Sock bulky fingering base. It is 100 grams, 75%, 25% merino, nylon, 400 meters, and yeah, so this is our Soft Sock bulky. And Scarecrow is also in our Soft Sock bulky. And Absinthe is here in our Rustic Sock base, actually. And oh no, I wasn't telling the truth. This one is in our Soft Sock bulky as well. I do believe I have here Scarecrow in our Rustic. This is definitely the Rustic. I can feel it now, and you can also see the kind of like, yeah, like it's a little bit difficult to see, but like the little halo. It's almost like a woolly fuzzy halo. Yeah, so I just had my yarn base and colorway ditty here from the shop when we were actually just talking about finished objects. So I'll just pack these babies back. Right, so again, this is the Change Your Mind Cowl. It is also a pleasure and super easy to knit, and it's basically comprised of 1x1 ribbing and then straight up stockinette. Then you have the eyelet pattern that's also in the shawl pattern, and then it gets broken up again with another stockinette, and then goes further, and then you have again this 1x1 ribbing. So yeah, check out this pattern. It's really cool. I loved wearing it in the, or it wasn't in the fall, I believe it was the middle of the winter to end of the winter. Again, here I had an issue with gauge only because I guess I underestimated how it would, especially after it was blocked, how big it would be. And I think the next time I make it, I want to make it so that it fits a bit better around my neck. So I will definitely be going down a needle size on this. So, but it's a beautiful pattern. I can't recommend it enough. So my next finished object is another cowl. This is our 2021 Mystery Advent Cowl that I designed. This was a free pattern that went along in last year's Advent calendar. It is available on Ravelry and also available in the Little Bishes Stitches Hand-Dyed Yarn web shop. Here I used Glue Vine, which is a variegated tonal that we also have in the shop as my base color. And the rest is just, I'd say a huge variety of color work patterns that are pretty simple and pretty easygoing. And for all of these patterns, I used minis from the Advent calendar. And, you know, I guess color work really isn't every person's bag, but I think if you're wanting to get your feet wet in terms of knitting color work, this would be a really super pattern to start with because it's in the round, and it comes with a chart. Even though the colors that are included in the chart were made specifically for the Advent calendar, you still can use your own colors if you want. And this would also be a great project to purchase when you are trying to also maybe bust your stash, or maybe you're also getting an Advent calendar this year of 20 gram minis and you're not really sure, you know, what should I use them for. And the main color, I used a complete 100 gram skein of yarn, and the rest were 20 gram mini skeins, of which I also had leftovers. So that's the cool thing too about knitting color work, is that there's a lot of yarn, but you don't use that much yarn. You always have yarn left over. For this, I believe I used for the 2x2 ribbing, I used a 3.5 or 3.0, I believed, needle. And then I continued on with a bigger needle, which is always really important when you're knitting color work. Yeah, how do I explain it? I mean, I think when you're knitting normally, let's just say stockinette, and then you want to start the color work option, you should always move on to a larger needle, because when you're knitting color work, it takes a little bit of time to kind of get the groove in terms of your tension. And usually using the same size knitting needle as before could almost feel like you're strangling what it is you're trying to knit with your color work pattern that you're using. At least that's what works for me. I mean, that's the way I roll when I knit color work pieces, whether it's a color work sock or it's a color work shawl like this. So yeah, I mean, this cowl is quite large. I believe it's about 30 centimeters in length, and maybe about almost 20 centimeters in width. And it's super warm. This was also knit in our soft sock bulky base, 75-25% merino nylon. And if I put it on, and my hair is all crazy, you can see what's really cool about this cowl, in the sense that it's really long. It has a lot going on in the middle, where it can keep your neck nice and warm. It doesn't like pull up anywhere. It doesn't like pull down. It's not too like loose. It would sit really awesome within a jacket, so you're not like the entire time like jacket on, scarf or cowl, and there's like wind coming in. It's really super cozy and soft. And I really love designing the little patterns because they were just, yeah, like fun patterns that everybody knows or everybody's seen, or fun graphics that everybody's seen. So I felt that it was like also very relatable. So stash busting or advent calendar celebrating, this is a really great pattern. So the next pattern I have, or rather finished object, is my pair of Scarecrow socks, which is, which was knitted with our Scarecrow sock set that's also available in the shop. You can purchase this sock set in our soft sock bulky fingering. It is comprised of Scarecrow, our one-of-a-kind Spruce colorway, and our variegated tonal glue vine. This is 100 grams, this is 20, as well as this. So I've been really into contrasting cuffs, heels, and toes lately. So I thought I would give it a go with those colorways from the shop. I used the same needle size the entire time. A couple months ago, I think it was in February, a new yarn store opened up here. It's called Der Maschenladen in La Mata. And I thought I would swing by on opening day to congratulate the new owner because I was very excited that a new yarn store was opening up. And also totally like nervous and like fangirling her because I would also love to have a yarn shop one day too. And I also thought while I'm there, I'll definitely look for a new pair of knitting needles, DPNs. And because I wanted to originally knit a pair of socks in a DK weight yarn. And so I found from Lana Grossa, I believe, a pair of knitting needles. It was the 2.5 millimeter needles. And I was kind of like thinking to myself, like, yeah, I don't know how this is going to turn out, because usually I knit my socks with the tightest gauge as possible, and it's usually anywhere from like, I'd say a 2.0, 2.5 millimeter needle. But I was starting to notice kind of like my hands are starting to hurt and my wrists were hurting, and winter was coming, and why not knit a pair of DK socks? They're nice and thick, they're nice and springy. So I purchased these knitting needles and I knit up these socks using a 2x2 rib using our one-of-a-kind Spruce colorway. And then I continued on with Scarecrow, and it's, you know, a total normal vanilla, you know, as a vanilla sock, and also a normal stockinette stitch. And what's really cool about Scarecrow is that it is a little bit of a variegated feeling, but it's kind of subtle, and it has these really awesome pops of color in it, whether it's like these teals again, or it has like these, you know, kind of like burnt orange going on. Then I moved on to the heel flap and gusset. There I used a contrasting color using our glue vine, and then I did the decreases for the gusset, and then moved on to the toe. And I have like a funny way of doing the decreases for the toe. I used to do it back in the day where I would like, yeah, decrease every other row. I don't do that anymore because I was kind of like, didn't like the shape. Like the shape of the toe was constantly like this triangle thing going on, and that was just annoying. So I kind of like made up my own method where I do decreases every row for the first 4 rows, and then I knit across and then do another decrease and then knit across, do another decrease for about also, yeah, 16 rows. And then I kind of see like where I am, and then I basically do the rest of the toe as decreases. And I'm really happy with the shape. It's like a nice little, yeah, almost like a moon shape, half moon shape. So yeah, these are Scarecrow socks, and they're available in the shop, or rather this is available as a sock set in the shop. So check it out. So today I just have water because it's way too hot for like coffee or tea. So yeah, so the next finished object I have are socks. They are somewhat reminiscent of the Change Your Mind shawl. This is, I won't say a pattern by me because it was just something I made up as I went along. I started using My Electricity sock set from the shop, and then I totally had a color work itch and decided that I wanted to do some color work. So I started first with a 2x2 rib again using our electric slide colorway. This is a variegated tonal in the shop. Then I moved on using electric slide, you know, doing a normal stockinette stitch, moving on to this, you know, yarn over, you know, creating eyelets, and making a break again for the stockinette and doing the same. This time, or for the color work here, I used our Peep colorway. That's a variegated tonal we have in the shop. Here's our Lionheart colorway, again, electric slide. And then I did a sprinkle of colorway spots using Lionheart once again. So I did my stockinette further and then broke for the heel flap and gusset using electric slide once again. And how awesome is this electric slide colorway? I love how it has this crazy, like almost, yeah, elliptical feeling going on. It's like dark blue, but not black. And there's variation in terms of like how light or maybe a little bit darker this almost teal green color is. Then you have this like insane pop of colors going on from, you know, the fuchsia, the chartreuse. Then I went to the toe part and continued with these pops of colorway and ended with the toes using our electric slide colorway once again. So I don't have kits in the shop for this pair of socks, but I do have kits in the shop for, or sock sets in the shop for our my electricity sock set, where one could definitely use that sock set to knit this pair of socks. This is also in our soft sock bulky fingering base. What's also super cool about our soft sock fingering, or soft sock bulky fingering base, is that it's really springy. It is, you know, 75%, 25% merino nylon. It's super wash. It has like a nice thick feeling to it, but it's not, again, it's this like voluminous feeling that the yarn itself has, and it has a super duper stability to it, which I love, but at the same time it's not stiff, it's just bouncy. I mean, I don't know if you can hear it, it's like boom 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 boom, and I just love it. So yeah, and then for this pair of socks I also used the 2.5 Lanicrossa needles DPNs, and it was super awesome to knit. It wasn't too loose, my gauge was perfect and nice and tight, and my hands didn't hurt after I used them. So now moving on to my last finished object. This is again a pair of socks. This pattern is called the Blackberry Seed pattern by me. I designed it. It was one of the first patterns that I ever designed, and it all started with color work, or I thought to myself, like, I want to try color work. I mean, I must admit, I used to kind of think color work was dumb. Just thought to myself, like, yeah, it's not really me. I mean, no offense to anybody who likes to do color work. I'm not trying to offend anybody. It just wasn't my bag back then. And then I started like kind of trying it out. I'm like, oh, this is fun. And then it just was like, you know, history from there. So then I started just knitting this pattern. And Kath from Kath's Eye Catcher, she's a super good friend of mine. Kath, if you're watching, thank you so much for your time and patience and for your loving guidance in designing this pattern. She helped me with some of the counts for the heel flap and gusset, because even though you do the heel flap without any color work, when you basically move on to the gusset, you are still doing the color work. There are decreases going on, and it was a bit difficult with the math. And the math is not my strong point, so it was really cool that she kind of like could lend her head in that aspect, while I kind of like worried about the rest. The size that I have in my hand is not a size that is offered in the pattern. The pattern is made for European 38, US 8 to 9. But I thought, okay, I've done the adult size, why not try the children's size? And I must admit, I really loved knitting it. So I do believe when I update the pattern next, I will definitely offer a size for children. And this would be, I'd say, yeah, for a child like 3 to 4 years old. Here are some colors from the shop. This is our Babette colorway, moving down to Stonehenge as the main color. Then we have our Peep colorway as these hot pink little blackberry seeds. I did my favorite slip one knit one for the heel flap. Moving on to a total normal gusset. If I throw in German words here and there, I'm so sorry. It's sometimes a bit difficult when you speak two languages. You're trying to explain something and this one word just flops out. It's the same way sometimes when I speak German that like English words are also popping out. So my apologies if that's super annoying. It also annoys me. So yeah, then you basically keep going in the round with these little blackberry seeds, and then you finish off with the toe. Again, I use the same toe pattern that I like to use for my socks in general, and then I use the babette once again. Yeah, so those are all my finished objects. As I mentioned, I don't really have a lot on the needles right now. I have to admit, my mojo for knitting wasn't really great the last couple weeks. I was doing a lot of work in the studio, and just life was, I would say, pretty exhausting, where I didn't have any inspiration to knit anything. Here and there, I picked up this one work in progress that I'm about to show you. It was kind of like, yeah, a nice way for me to decompress, not really having to pay attention much to anything, and still get my fix and reorganize my brain and thoughts when the day was over. So this is just a total normal pattern of all my leftovers from the shop and from other yarn dyers and whatnot that I love. And I just kind of like melted them and molded them together in a garter stitch. I didn't follow any pattern. I believe I might have even like cast on 200 stitches when I originally cast this on. And I've been working on this for the last, I'd say, year and a half, and I'm finally almost done. And it's been a pleasure, like I said, and for this I used a 3.5 needle on the rosewood. I forget which brand these are from. I'll leave that in the drop down box below. But it's just really nice and cozy and stretchy, and it's hot right now, so I don't think it'll be put into use anytime soon. But this blanket is for my daughter, and I hope she likes it, because she's sometimes a bit like visually and style picky like me. So yeah, I'm almost done with that. I have like maybe another, I'd say anywhere from like 10 to 15 centimeters, and then I'll be done with that. So yep, that's the blanket I'm knitting. So now I'd like to move on to the segment where I talk a little bit more about what's going on in the shop. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we have a 2022 yarn advent calendar available until the 1st of July. This calendar is comprised of 24 20-gram minis and one 100-gram skein of yarn in a base of your choice. From the choices, we have our soft sock fingering base and a new base that I brought to the shop as of now for this time being. It's a BFL base. So I thought a BFL would be kind of like cool because, yeah, I mean, sock yarn is also quite fun. It is kind of universal, but you know, the holiday season is coming. It's getting colder. Maybe it would be funner to knit with a BFL during this time. So quite a few of those calendars have already sold. The BFL was the most popular. So I'm glad that I spoke to a lot of makers in terms of the base of the yarn. Yeah, as I mentioned, 20 or 24 20-gram mini skeins with one 100-gram. The concept behind this advent calendar isn't, yeah, your, I'd say, typical advent calendar in the sense that it's, you know, it's Christmas time, the holiday season is coming, and for me this year it was really more important to bring out a calendar that really is my heart and soul and speaks to me, and that is art. About a year ago, I started noticing evenings on Instagram that it would always show me artwork from modern to classic artists, and it was so relaxing for me, and it was so inspiring and so much fun that I started posting them every night in my stories. So once upon a time, I was an art history major, and I actually have a bachelor's degree in art history and fine arts. And yeah, I guess as it is in life, sometimes we start a path and then go on to a different one. And I noticed that since I started dyeing yarn, I've been so inspired by the entire process and the immersion in color and the inspiration and movement that one has while dyeing the yarn, and I have kind of intuitively moved back into the realm of art. And so the Evening Art Yarn Advent Calendar was born, where I wanted to offer other makers an inspiring experience of knitting with 24 mini skeins and one 100-gram skein of yarn that are inspired by the artworks that were featured in the Evening Art Instagram stories on the Little Bishes Stitches Instagram page. So in addition to the yarn, this advent calendar also will include other Christmas goodies, as well as a handmade object that I won't give away. I can only tell you that this one handmade object will allow you to hold your minis or store your minis, and it won't be like, let's just say, the individual paper bags that it comes in or boxes or whatever. It will be one vessel where you can store your minis while you knit them. So yeah, check out the 2022 Yarn Advent Calendar Evening Art. It's available in our shop until the 1st of July. The advent calendars will ship at the same time as they did last year, usually the 31st of October, first week of November. And yeah, check it out. So other news that I'd also like to share with you involve some developments that are happening in the shop. When I first started dyeing yarn, I had a super small space that was kind of like, I would say, a very minimalistic setup. The space was confined. It was good for the time being, but as the shop has been growing, thanks to all of you, I decided that I needed a bigger space for preparing the yarn and creating the colorways and processing the yarn. And since I am a small hand dyer on a journey, I am a small woman-owned business, and I am very proud of being a small business and a small hand dyer. And yeah, it's been definitely a process in terms of building this small business, and moving into a different space has really been a liberating experience for me, because although I am a small business, I feel that within this space I am able to, yeah, fulfill and satisfy many facets of my life, family life, my schedule during the week and the day, being a little bit more efficient and effective, and building my business and creating my product. And I was so inspired and happy about this opportunity that I started a studio vlog on this YouTube channel, where I plan to offer a studio vlog 1 to 2 times a month, where I show what I'm doing in the studio in terms of like what's on the agenda for today. What are my processes in terms of preparing the yarn? How do I wash the yarn? How do I develop the colorways that I'm thinking of dyeing? How do I apply the color to the yarn so that these colorways are created? Kind of, you know, expand a little bit on what are some of the things that one should kind of have in their mind in terms of having a hand-dyed yarn business or dyeing yarn in general. And I know as a small hand dyer, obviously I've learned a lot from the community, but there's also been a lot of times where my question marks were still kind of there. And yeah, I just thought to myself, like, how great would it be to have an information source where you can learn about these things? Because one of the things that are really important when you're a hand dyer is not only, like, let's just say, making nice art, it's also working with chemicals, and it's something where you have to make sure that your health is still in the in the foreground, you know. And I think it's great when there's YouTube channels where other dyers have kind of like said, like, hey, look, you know, you got to watch out for this, you got to make sure that you have enough air and whatnot. And I thought for the studio vlog it would be also a great opportunity to keep this information in circulation in all of the facets I just mentioned. So just as I moved into the new space, I received an order from Wolfe Atelier in Heidelberg, Germany. The Anya is super sweet. She has already ordered from me a couple times now, and I'm always so grateful for her orders. And this past order was such a great order. It was so exciting, and she picked so many colorways that were like some of my favorites, and it was really a pleasure to create those for her. And some of these colorways that she ordered I also included in the first studio vlog, which I will link here too, where you guys can also check it out. If you guys are in the Heidelberg area this summer, please head over to Wolfe Atelier. I will leave information to her shop in the drop down box. She has a wonderful array of hand-dyed yarns, from Life in the Long Grass to Hedgehog Fibers and other local dyers. So in this last segment, I would like to talk a little bit about some of the colorways that we have going on in the shop, and would like to show you guys a few others. So this first colorway that I'd like to show you is our Sunset Strip colorway. This is also in our soft sock bulky fingering base, and this is a really great example of what I'm talking about in this whole like bulky thing. If you look and see the thread of this yarn, it's like so voluminous. It's almost like a cloud. It's like puffy. It's like soft. And this is 75%, 25% merino nylon superwash, as I mentioned, 400 meters and 100 grams. And yeah, this colorway is really awesome. As a kid growing up, we had a very large household of children, and I was the youngest of 5, and my oldest brother, I think, was like 16 years older than me. So long story short, there was a lot of Twisted Sister and a lot of Guns N' Roses and a lot of Quiet Riot going on in our house. And this colorway just totally reminds me of that whole, you know, Hollywood, big hair, sunset strip thing going on. And I really, really love it. And this is also one of the colorways that you can get at Wolfe Atelier. She also ordered this colorway. So this, again, this is our sunset strip colorway. The next colorway I'd like to share with you is our Garbage colorway. It was inspired by their first self-titled album, Garbage, because the cover of that album is basically like this crazy hot pink, you know, facade with the name Garbage, and there's feathers, and it's really soft and fluffy, but still at the same time has like a real rock star energy going on. And this colorway is very reminiscent of that. And this colorway was one of the first colorways that came to the Little Bishes Stitches hand-dyed yarn shop. And it's quite popular, and yeah, I guess it's kind of nostalgic every time I dye this skein of yarn or this colorway, because it was, yeah, at the root of my inspiration. And it makes me so happy that it makes other people happy and that they love it. And that's one of the reasons why I started dyeing yarn in the first place, because I remember when I first realized there was hand-dyed yarn, I was like so blown away about how the composition of the colors and the colors themselves on a skein of yarn made me feel, and also how inspired, warm, and fuzzy it made me feel about being inspired for a project that I wanted to knit. And I guess since, yeah, it's always kind of like sat inside of me, this artistic element and this need for expression, my need then to dye yarn definitely came after that, where I thought to myself, like, I want to express myself through yarn because I love yarn, and I want to help people or give people the same fuzzy feeling that I have when I see that skein of yarn, that I'm like, I have to have it. So yeah, this is Garbage. Next skein of yarn that I have is our Atlantis colorway. This is also in our soft sock bulky fingering base. This colorway was a colorway that came to the shop about a half a year after I opened it up. Atlantis is inspired kind of like, I guess, by, yeah, aquatic elements, aquatic folktale. This colorway was actually named by Reggie from J Hook Crochet. And she always had the most great ideas in terms of like how I should name some colorways if I was kind of having like a block. And she's like, oh, you should name it Atlantis. And I was like, yes, That's perfect. I can totally see it. Like, I'm underwater in this moment with the skein of yarn, and it's totally that skein of yarn. So this skein of yarn has kind of like an avocado touch here and there, kind of sporadic. It has like, you know, speckles, purple speckles, and also like this burnt orange again. And it's just really beautiful colorway. I love it very much. So next skein of yarn that I would like to show is also an oldie but a goodie. This is our Locked and Loaded colorway. This is also one of the, you know, original colorways from the shop when it first opened up. It has kind of like, you know, almost like, you know how Atlantis has these like avocado splotches. This has kind of like gray as the same thing with like nice little pops of magenta, you know, almost like cheetah sprinkles going on here. And this is also in our soft sock bulky fingering base, and it's also available in the shop. So the last colorway I'd like to share with you guys is Catwoman. This colorway was inspired by the 1960s Batman series. Although it was inspired mostly by the character Catwoman, I feel like this colorway still has a lot of like reminiscent rather of the other characters that are in the Batman series. I almost feel like this green is like almost like, you know, the Joker. Then you have like, you know, the magentas and the purples that remind you somewhat of, you know, Batgirl. Then you have like these like fire yellows that, you know, make you think about these like movements and expressions that they would have when there was a fight, and it would be, you know, kind of expressed with this like pow or bam. And I really love this colorway so much, and it really is very popular in the shop. It keeps selling out, and I'm trying to dye it up again as fast as I can, but then it just keeps selling out. So if you're trying to get this colorway, let me know, send me an email, and I definitely can give you an idea in terms of like when it's scheduled to be stocked again. Or we do also have the dye to order function in the website, or, you know, on the website. So this colorway I have here in our Luxe 20 or Luxe 80/20 high twist base. It is also a superwash, 80% merino, 20% nylon base. I really love this base because when the color hits the yarn, it absorbs it really vibrantly. So yeah, this is our Catwoman colorway. Guys, that's all I have for today. Thanks so much for tuning in to Knit Vlog episode number 6. I hope you enjoyed coming along with me and seeing what I've finished as finished objects and see what I'm knitting on, as well as hearing a little bit about what's going on in the shop. If you would like to follow Little Bishes Stitches a little bit more, I'm also on Instagram and also on Facebook. If you would like to see more about what's going on here on this channel, please hit that subscribe bell button. And yeah, if you're a returning viewer, thanks so much. And yeah, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. So take care. Bye-bye.